it's me with another video. If you haven't seen my previous video, then go check that out first before you watch this video. I'll link the video in the description box down below. So if you did watch my previous video, then you know that I suffered from a major eating disorder anxiety attack. I feel like it was triggered by social anxiety, which in my opinion is the result of my complex post-traumatic stress disorder, CPTSD. I'm not a therapist, of course, but I've learned a lot about myself since I've been in recovery and since I have found out that I was the victim of narcissistic abuse. So I never even knew I had social anxiety because I look really extroverted and outgoing. But what has always played a role in my life is that I did kind of isolate myself. I still do that, but I didn't realize I was doing it. When I felt good, I did go out, like not to parties or anything, but just when I was at the gym, for example, I would be really outgoing. And if I would have told anyone that I was depressed or suffering from an eating disorder, they would be like, what? They would be in shock because I always looked like the happiest person alive, you know? And when I felt good, when I hadn't binged for a while and I started to feel better about myself, like when I was at the gym, when I felt that good, I was really outgoing and open, and I would tell like everyone, anybody, my darkest secrets. So I didn't look like someone with social anxiety. But whenever there were bigger events going on, like a party, even if it was organized by my own friends, if I knew that there were people going to be there that I didn't know that well or people I wasn't that close with, I would, weeks in advance, starve myself and freak out if I didn't lose enough weight. And if I wasn't skinny enough by the time the event took place, I just wouldn't go because I didn't feel worthy enough to go. So, and I feel like that is a form of social anxiety. Even if I know that I am loved by the people who are at the party, I'll still have that. So I'm now at a point where I can already like make appointments with my niece, for example, and not cancel if right before that I have a binging spree and I binge eat and I gain a lot of weight, because I'm now at a point where I can trust certain people like my niece, my brother, my best friends. But apparently I still struggle with bigger events where there are also people present who love me, but who aren't really, I don't know, I don't see them every day, or for some reason they haven't earned my full trust yet, even though I should trust them completely. So I guess I have trust issues. I'm always afraid of people's judgment. And you know, when I'm a bit fuller, for example, I will feel like I'm not worthy enough and people are gonna see and they're gonna gossip about me or judge me, even if they don't verbalize the judgment. Just them looking at me, I'll die inside, you know? So that is something that's going on, and I feel like the anxiety attack you guys watched in the previous video was triggered by that kind of social anxiety, because a few days after that anxiety attack, we had to go to a party organized by our karate club, and everyone was going to be there. Everyone who has ever trained at that club was going to be there. And I also kind of had a feeling that Robert was going to ask me to marry him, which is wonderful. And I wasn't afraid of that. But the thing is, it put even more pressure on me because I knew that I had to go to that party, because if my suspicion was correct, then I would hurt him so much by crashing and binge eating and not going to that party, because I know he's been wanting to ask me for a very long time. So I did not have an anxiety attack because I was afraid to say yes or anything. I was really excited about my suspicion, but I was afraid of the fact that it was going to be a party with a lot of people there. And you know, when you go to a party, you usually dress up, and I was afraid I wasn't going to be skinny enough, which is totally wrong and superficial. When I see people at parties, I'm not like, wow, they're a bit chubby, why are they even here? I mean, like, no. But you know, I had an anxiety attack because there were going to be a lot of people there, even though it were all people of whom I know they honestly love me. The anxiety attack happened and I captured it on camera. I didn't film the worst part because, you know, when you're suffering like that, you're not focused on your YouTube channel. You're just suffering, you know. So today's video is going to be about what happened after that anxiety attack. So I took 3 anti-anxiety pills. I take Alprazolam, and I started with just a half because I felt like, well, I may still be able to manage my anxiety. But yeah, I soon found out that that was not the case. So I took the other half. Still didn't feel better. But I waited for a pretty long time. I thought, you know, you should give it time to work properly. But then, you know, I took a second, and like after an hour or 2 hours, it still was like a full-blown anxiety attack. And I just eventually took 3 Alprozolams. And I was still awake. Normally, you can drug an elephant. You can knock out an elephant with this. Sometimes when I take just a half, I already fall asleep. Sometimes I take 1 pill and I fall asleep, and half of a pill doesn't work. But this time I took 3 and I was like awake. The anxiety did not go away. But then eventually there came a point where I got so angry and frustrated that I kind of got over it. And I allowed the anger and the frustration to come out in the form of tears, desperate tears. I did not film that part. And that's how I kind of got over it. I felt angry. I was angry with my boyfriend because I had this suspicion that he was going to ask me to marry him. And I was like, how dare he? How dare he expect of me that I'm going to go to that party? How dare he be upset if I binge now and don't want to go anymore? How dare he? Does he even know how much I'm suffering, how hard this is for me? And like, my rational self knew that I was being way too hard on him. My rational self was telling me that, Elke, it's completely normal that your boyfriend would be upset if you wouldn't be able to go anymore. And by the way, you know that he wouldn't really blame you. He would be upset and he would look angry maybe for an hour, but he'll get over it, and he's going to be frustrated, and that's what you're going to notice, but he's not going to be super angry with you. He's not like that. He knows your disease. He knows you can't help it. That was what my rational self was telling me, and it's true. We talked about this in advance. We know from experience that we have to cancel a lot of fun stuff because of my illness. And my boyfriend has said to me a zillion times, like, just please forgive me if in the moment that I get disappointed because you don't want to go anymore, forgive me if I freak out for just half an hour, but then I'll get over it, and I'm never mad at you. I may look mad, but it's because I'm frustrated. So I knew this, we talked about this, and yet my eating disorder was playing with my mind so much that I was like, fuck him, how dare he, this is so selfish of him. I'm suffering so much, I should just be able to binge, and like right now I can't binge because I can't do that to him. I just couldn't do it to him. If I would not have been in a relationship, I would have probably binged, you guys. But I love him so much, and I guess that's a good sign. I guess it's proof that I'm not selfish because I just couldn't do it. I was suffering so much, I felt like I was gonna die if I didn't binge and just not go to the party. And yet I didn't because I just couldn't bring myself to binge. I wasn't craving any food, I wasn't hungry either. That was not the problem. I feel like the urge to binge was not triggered by me not eating enough in general or having a nutrient deficiency. Not at all. It was triggered by anxiety. I didn't even feel like eating. I just wanted to binge to numb myself out, to not have to go to that party with all of those people and just be able to stay safe, stay in my comfort zone, you know? And I felt so much anger towards him, and I knew that that was wrong. But okay, I guess it's proof that I love him and that he's the one for me, because I've never been able to do that for anyone, for any boyfriend, for anyone. Like, I just could not bring myself to binge, even though I felt like I was gonna die if I didn't binge right then. So I kept suffering. I don't know for how long. I didn't time it. The pills didn't seem to work. They probably did take the edge off, but I didn't feel like they were doing that. So eventually I got so angry that it turned into sadness, and I started crying, and I got really desperate, and I started crying, and I said in Dutch, but I'm just gonna repeat it in English for you guys. I cried, and while crying I was yelling like, why does this eating disorder why is this eating disorder not going away? What did I do to deserve this? Why? I was just like, why am I not getting better when I'm trying so hard? And I'm getting a bit emotional now, but like, my boyfriend instantly like melted. I don't know how to say this. I could tell that the moment those words came out with the tears, he actually felt how much I was suffering, and he just, gave me a hug, and I allowed him to do that, because before that moment I pushed him away and I was so mad at him. But once I got over a certain point, I just crashed, but it was a good crash, and I cried, and I also cried before that in the video, but it was, I don't know, I got to a point where I got so frustrated and so mad that it turned into sadness, and I let it out, and then I was like, okay, I'm done. I don't have to binge. I still feel like crap, but I don't have to binge. And that was a really magical moment. And then I just continued to watch YouTube videos on my phone while sitting in the couch, and my boyfriend just sat next to me and watched TV or just did stuff on his iPad. And I stayed up pretty late, even though I took 3 anti-anxiety pills, which would normally knock me the fuck out. I did feel after about 3 hours, I think, that the pills did start to work. When they do start to work, I become a little bit funny. I kind of start to laugh at my own misery, or with my own misery, and I'll become really sarcastic, but in a good way, just to be funny, and I'll start to talk like this, just a bit, and my boyfriend can always tell that I'm becoming a bit drowsy or sleepy. And that happened after 3 hours, but I did not feel like I was falling asleep at all. Normally, if I would take 3 anti-anxiety pills, I would not be able to stay awake. I would have to lay down and just fall asleep. But okay. I think we went to bed at midnight or something, maybe 1 o'clock at night. And the next day, it was better. The next day, I didn't have to fight that level of anxiety anymore. And I was really grateful for that. And I felt like, okay, I'm okay now. I'm not going to eat any fear foods or anything until it's time to go to the party, but I feel like I can eat 3 times a day, no biggie, just eat safe foods. It's just for a few days. You don't have to feel guilty about that. You don't have to be a warrior like every second of every day. You also have bad days where you feel like you're not as brave as usual. And I took really good care of myself. I did not work too hard the days before the party, and we were eventually able to go to the party. And yes, my boyfriend did ask me to marry him, and I will make a separate video about that. So stay tuned. It was super romantic. It was so emotional, and I'm so glad he did it in our karate family. I'm so glad he did it at a karate event, because those people are like a family to us. They always support us. We give each other so much respect. It's like, I'm so glad he did it there, and it was the most beautiful moment in my entire life, and I'm glad I got through the anxiety attack. So that's what happened after the anxiety attack, and I have had tiny anxiety attacks after the party, about, me not looking as skinny as I thought I should be, but I do get over them. So, and I don't have to take any pills for those. I just nag to my boyfriend about it, and he talks to me, and it's kind of like a therapy session, and I'll nag about it, and then I'll get over it. And I watched a live stream that I did on my other YouTube channel, which is about my barn owl, because if you hear something, that's my barn owl trying to fly towards me, because it wants to be with me right now, I know, but it's tied up to a perch, so that's the sound you hear. So I had a little anxiety attack after watching one of my own live streams, and I was wearing a tank top, a spaghetti top actually, and I suddenly felt like my shoulders were too wide and my arms were too big. But then after a few hours, I watched it again after the anxiety had kind of subsided. I don't know how to say that in English. And then I was like, oh, I am skinny. That's great. So, like, your eyes are constantly deceiving you, and you need to take that into consideration when you're recovering. And it shouldn't even matter whether you're fat or skinny or just thin, slim, muscular. It should not matter. I'm just talking about what my eating disorder voice is throwing at me and stuff. So I do still have small anxiety moments. I should call them anxiety moments and not really anxiety attacks. Like yesterday, I also had one, and I had to take a thumbnail for my other channel, and accidentally my top was lifted and I could see my stomach. And when I looked at the picture on my camera on the little screen, I was like, wow, I'm really satisfied with my flat stomach. I feel like I'm starting to get a really flat stomach. But then when I was editing the photo on the big screen on my computer, I was like, oh, last year I weighed 49 kilos and I do not look like 49 kilos yet in that picture, which is a really sick thought. Why would I have to look like 49 kilos? But it triggered anxiety. It triggered the thought, see, I'm eating very well, but it's making me fat, or I'm never gonna weigh that weight again. And I just kind of want the reassurance that I am able to weigh 49 kilos again. Not that the number should matter, but apparently it still matters to me in my sick mind. So I just want the reassurance that I can weigh 49 kilos again, but in a healthy way, eating 3 to 4 meals a day, with snacks in between if necessary. And I just want to be able to weigh that number without having to over-exercise and restrict certain foods. I want to be able to eat enough healthy fats, I want to be able to just have rest days whenever I feel like it. Basically, I want to weigh 49 kilos without having an eating disorder. So I guess the second part of that thought is a good one, not having an eating disorder. At least I'm not wanting to weigh 49 kilos with an eating disorder, you know? I do not want to engage in any eating disorder behavior anymore. And I'm working really hard every day to get to that. Oops, sorry, saliva. I just gave you guys a shower. I really want to work towards that point in my life. And I feel like it is happening, but not as fast as I would like, of course. Or not as fast as other people may think it should happen. I just take it step by step, just baby steps, and I feel like I am going to get there. So yeah, I got triggered because I was satisfied with how I looked. I just noticed that I didn't look as skinny as I looked last year when I weighed 49 kilos. Then my rational self came back and said, yeah, that's probably the case because right before the karate party, you still weighed 53 kilos. And there's a big difference between 53 kilos and 49 kilos, especially if you've been weighing 49 kilos for several weeks or months. You get leaner even though you don't lose any weight anymore. It's like consistency is key. You can lose 20 pounds in 1 week, and people may notice, but you're not gonna look like the number on the scale yet because it's probably just water weight, or most of it is water weight. But if you keep eating healthy or healthily consistently, you will lean out more even if you don't lose weight on the scale. Like, we all know this. We all know that the scale doesn't matter. It's just our hearts just need to follow our rational minds, and that's hard. So that was also a little anxiety moment, but I just had a little motivational talk with myself, and then, I get over it. I share this anxiety moment with my boyfriend. He will say all kinds of stuff that I already said to myself a minute before he said it, and then I'll get over it. So, yes. That's what happened after the anxiety attack. The next video will be our engagement video, so stay tuned. If you found this video useful, give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel if you're new, because I post new videos as much as I can. And don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload new videos. If you want a daily reminder to remind you that you are strong, that you are a warrior, that you can overcome any obstacle you want, then go to my warrior store where I sell all kinds of t-shirts, hats and stuff with cool quotes about being brave and overcoming mental illness. Lots of stuff with unicorns, because unicorns are powerful. Go check it out. The link is in the description box down below. I love you guys, stay strong, and I'll see you in the next video.